Hey, Jason here from River Pools, and today we're going to talk about how to install a paver patio around an in-ground swimming pool. But we've been installing pools for quite a while, since 2001. We've installed about 1,000 fiberglass pools throughout Virginia, Maryland, and West Virginia. We've had an opportunity to work with all different types of patio materials, and we found that we really like pavers as an option for several reasons. So what we're going to talk about today is the process of installing a paver patio around an in-ground pool, and also the pros and cons of pavers as a patio material. And we're going to contrast that with concrete, which is another obviously popular patio material. And today we're on site at the installation of our Wellspring 40 freeform fiberglass pool, and we're installing a paver patio. What we've done is we've poured an 18-inch wide concrete coping border around the perimeter of this pool as our coping edge. Now there's all types of different coping options that you could go with. You can have coping that's mortared in place, like a brick paver or a coping paver, or natural stone like travertine, or you can pour your concrete coping like we've done here. Once your coping is complete, you're going to go ahead and you'll be ready to install your paver patio. And the way we go about doing this is we get the base right and the base level first through the use of stone. And we lay stone down, a minimum of 6 to 8 inches of stone base. That's going to give us a nice compacted level area that we can work with that's not going to move. Then we put about a ½ inch layer of sand on top of that stone base, and we screed that sand out so that it's nice and flat. Then we're ready to start laying our pavers. And what we do first is we go about laying our patio field first. So we lay all the full bricks out that we can, and then all the bricks that end up being in pieces, we make those cuts last. And once we fit all our cut pieces in, then we're ready to install the sand that goes between the pavers and locks the pavers in place. There's a few options there. One option is to use just typical sand, and another option is to use what's called polymeric sand. Polymeric sand, once that's swept in, you actually mist it with a little bit of water, and it will set up kind of like concrete, not quite as hard, but when it's all done, it looks just like sand, except it's very solid and rigid. That actually helps keep the pavers in place. It also prevents weed growth. And that leads us to the next thing to talk about here, which is what are the advantages and disadvantages of using pavers as a pool patio material. So pavers are very attractive, number one, so that's a big advantage, and there's lots of different shapes and sizes and colors to choose from. You have lots of different options there. But one of the major advantages is once you lay your paver down, let's say you were to have an issue down the road, like a plumbing leak, heaven forbid, or something like that. This could be a long time in the future. You can remove the pavers, you can fix the problem, and then you can relay the pavers. And compare that to a concrete patio, that if you did have an issue, you would have to jackhammer the concrete out. Then when you to go back and re-pour that, it's really not going to match up that well. So pavers give you the ability to do a future repair without any issues whatsoever. Another advantage of pavers is that typically you have a very similar color throughout the entire paver. They're usually done in one batch. So that one batch, they'll pull a bunch of pallets of pavers off that one batch, and all that will come out to your job site. So typically your pavers are going to be pretty uniform in color. In contrast, when you're doing concrete work, even if it's gray concrete, but especially if you're adding color to your concrete, if you have multiple truckloads of concrete, there's a pretty good chance the concrete truck colors are not going to match exactly. So you do have a little more control over the color of your product when going with pavers. Another advantage of pavers is that you don't have to worry about them cracking. And with concrete, the reality is it's going to crack. And what we try to do is we try to control where the concrete cracks by installing joints in the concrete that create little perforations so that concrete will then crack in that nice straight line. That's a lot more attractive than if the concrete cracks outside of a control joint and then you're stuck with that crack. And there's really not anything you can do with it. You can take the section of concrete out and re-pour it, but then you have the chance of it not matching. With pavers, you don't have that issue. You lay your pavers out, and there's usually some movement, but the pavers can move independently, so you don't have to worry about the cracking issue. And if something did happen with a section of pavers, you can always take them out and replace them. So that's a big advantage. Now, we're not knocking concrete is a pool patio material because it is an excellent material. It's budget friendly, it looks great, it lasts a long time, but the reality is that it does crack, and you don't have to deal with that with a paver patio. Now, some of the disadvantages of pavers are that you are going to have some weed maintenance. Over time, weeds are going to start to grow in between the pavers, and it's not so much that the weeds are growing from underneath as that just a lot of debris is going to accumulate between the individual pavers, and eventually you'll have enough for weeds to start to take root there and grow. So you're going to have to hit it once or twice a year with some weed killer to take care of that. Otherwise, pavers are pretty maintenance free. You will have to go back and you'll have to re-sand the pavers approximately every probably 3 to 4 years, and you'll find that they hold up very, very well over time. A common question that we're asked is, should I seal my pavers or should I not seal my pavers? You know, there's pros and cons to both. When you seal pavers, typically it gives them the wet look, and that's what people are after typically when they're sealing them. They all want that deeper, richer look. Most of the time, we do not seal paver patios around pools. We don't find there's a need, and the pavers are incredibly durable, and they hold up for a long, long time. So that's it in a nutshell. That's the basic installation and pros and cons of installing pavers around an in-ground pool. We hope that's helped. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment or question below in the comment section. And if you'd like to receive a quote for our Wellspring 40 freeform pool or any of our other pool designs that we offer, please submit a request and we'll get that to you. Thanks and have a great day.